All right, welcome to Spoiler Kings. My name is Tank Kramer with Brandman Brandon Grizzly.
He did it right,
I did
guys.
it right. And we're gonna talk and review Adolescence, streaming on Netflix right now. I think it's like the number one thing still on Netflix for like a couple weeks now at this point. Yeah, it's a show that I heard it from one of you guys. I think said like, "Oh, this show is amazing." I was like, "Oh shit, okay, well, watch it." And
there's a mini
was not
series, and we were talking about it. I was like, dude, man,
4 episodes. Each episode's an hour ish.
Yeah,
a little bit over an hour, somewhere around there. Yeah, so definitely a mini series, but yeah. So we're gonna review it, give our ratings at the end, our likes, our dislikes, our thoughts overall. There's really no one too famous, I think, in this one.
No.
Stephen Graham, maybe.
I think he's the most familiar actor on it.
Yeah, because I don't know anybody else really from here. But yeah, we'll get into it. But before we do, Brian, I don't know if they have a synopsis for this miniseries.
Sure, I got one. A family's world turns upside down when a 13-year-old Jamie Miller is arrested for murdering a schoolmate. The charges against their son force them to confront every parent's worst nightmare.
Yeah, very much. I don't know. You want to do episode by because there's only 4 episodes, and each episode is its own little story. So I don't know if we can just do our overall thoughts for episode, 1, and then move on to episode 2, 3, or 4, and then review the whole thing. Yeah. So episode 1 is just the initial charge. The cops come in, arrest the boy. It's the whole processing thing. Lawyers get involved. They're at the station trying to figure out what's going on. Did he do it? Did he not do it? Blah blah blah. That's the entire first episode. Is just that is the initial arrest of the 13-year-old boy. What do you guys think about this episode?
Go ahead, B.
Intense. Well, that could go for the show overall, but the way that they really throw you into it, it sets the tone right out of the woodwork. And from a technical standpoint, I really liked how the beginning was done in that tracking shot. That was awesome.
Yeah, a lot of great shots. Yeah,
they had a lot of great shots in this show. It, like I said, it sets the tone for what to expect next. Because this show, if it makes sense, you don't really have too much room to breathe. It really throws you right in, and that feeling of anxiety and discomfort is established straight away.
Yeah.
For a show like this, considering the content, I wouldn't have it any other way. And it has you questioning things. I don't even have kids of my own, but it kind of raises the question: can you trust your own kids?
They're still young and they're stupid. They're very stupid.
Yeah. So that was, how I felt about the first episode, pretty much right out of the woodwork.
Okay. What about you, Brian? What do you think about the first episode?
I think the first episode gave us the entire story immediately. So what they did is they laid out exactly what happened. And then now you had to go through all the ups and downs of people lying to themselves, lying to their family, not really wanting to own up to what really happened. And then how they investigate, how the police investigate. So in the first episode, we get the video. We see how traumatized this little boy is, and to a point where you're like, why would they do this to this little boy? You're on that side, and then as the layers are pulled back, you start to realize what's going on. So the first episode, and you see all the Instagram problems, and you see the CCTV footage of actually what happened. And you forget that, in England, they had cameras everywhere. So, they can see exactly what happened. So you can say whatever you want, and you really feel for the father in that situation.
Yep.
And how they're crying and the emotions as it evokes. Wow. And it's funny to even think that way because it's a little girl whose life has been taken. So yeah, that first episode was.
I guess because they do show the video, like the surveillance video, but they show it right towards the end, maybe the last like I don't know
5 minutes,
5 minutes, right at the end. So the entire episode, you're just like, like what's going on? Did he do it? Because he keeps saying I didn't do it. The dad looks dead in his face. He's like, did you do it? And he tells him no. So you're like, okay, you kind of seeing what's going on. Like, was there something else that happened? I don't know, and then they show the video and it just kind of, you get the same effect as the dad did almost while watching it,
punched in the
there,
stomach.
just like stabbed in the heart, really, like as the father, because the whole time you're like, oh, he didn't do it, like he's 13, like, and then you see the video and you're just like, oh, and then they show, like, you see the video, as a viewer, so I was like, damn, that's hard to watch, just that. So it was like, but I do appreciate that they did it at the end of the episode, so the whole episode you're kind of on his side, and then you're like, whoa, like, and then the story starts, after that, so yeah, you just get like this baggage of intense, him getting arrested, him going to the jail, this and that, him being a minor, so it's like you kind of want to defend him a little bit, like, oh, you can't do that without his parents there, you can't do that without, but then like as it goes, and at the end of the episode, you're just like, holy shit, like,
Hey, you realize the police did a really good job besides the jumping in, and you understand why they broke down the door and did all those things. But I felt like they were discussing and telling him all the right things to making sure that he understood what was happening. I commend all the actors and actresses in this one, because this was hard to watch, hard to do, hard to keep that emotion there. But that little boy, what's his name? Owen Cooper. If I would stand up and give you a standing ovation, because you did a wonderful job, and it started from episode 1.
Yeah, and he gets his moment for where he shows off like how great of an actor he is. In episode
that
3.
third episode.
Yeah. So we'll get into that. But yeah, we'll get into episode 2. So episode 2 is now he's arrested. We really don't see the boy or the family now. It focuses on the 2 main cops, and they're trying to get the evidence. So they go to the school, and there's an issue where the lead cop, one of his sons, or his son is in that same school. So they're in the school, and the whole episode revolves around the 2 main cops in the school trying to find evidence and trying to figure things out on details.
Fumbling. And you know what it made me realize? Kids are dickheads.
Episode 2 pissed me off so much.
Episode 2, but episode 2, before I felt like one of the issues was not issues, but one of the things was the disconnect between a younger generation and the older generation. Not saying like it's big, but it's every generation that does it. They have their own way of talking, and they have their own lingo where things mean different things, and that's been every generation, and it's just as you get older, you don't stay up with what the kids are saying anymore, and it becomes apparent in this, where especially as a cop, you're trying to figure things out, but it's hard to figure things out when kids have their own vocabulary that is a different meaning than yours, and it becomes apparent in this episode. But what you think, Brad, man?
P.S. That the black police officer in episode 2, he ran like a complete chump. That dude could not run. He ran like a complete chump.
But he was in dress shoes, right? Was he? Oh no.
D.I. Bascom, Luke
being outpaced by who was running in a very, very light jog.
He was like, I ain't ran like that since ever.
You were barely running anyway.
Out of breath.
Season 2 made me happy I don't have kids.
Well,
Those kids were little assholes. I
They
forgot
were.
how much little assholes kids can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah. Holy crap.
But not all of them, right?
Most of them. Holy shit.
His son really stepped up.
Mhm.
And what you realize is they have a terrible relationship together, and everyone, because you see how bad these kids are, we immediately want to blame the child, not realizing that by the end of the episode you realize it's really, the detective. It's his fault.
Mhm.
He never really wanted kids. He never really opened up to him, understanding how he gets older and really have anything but surface level conversation with his child in the last 3 or 4 years. So, in understanding how your relationship changes through as they grow older, but him not being involved in it, not really aware of what's happening, ruined their relationship. And it's the first time you see someone who might look like he is a good parent being a terrible parent, but it's a good kid is a good kid. And then parents that are involved in stuff couldn't had two different kids. That was the first seed about, maybe it's not nature versus nurture. Yeah, that was really interesting. And then for Di Luke Bascom to kind of realize about the end of the episode, I need to be more involved in my son's life. I need to tell him I love him, how I'm proud of him. I need to be there. We need to have conversations, and I need to show how important this is. And it's a lesson that he learned and he, internalized, and you can see him actually using that to further along his relationship with his son.
Yeah. I think also not knowing, as the viewer, not knowing what the son is going through in the first episode, because he's texting his son, and stuff like that in the first episode, and then the second episode it kind of starts off that, but then as it progresses, you realize like, oh, the son is not a popular kid. You know what I mean? Like Bram said, the kids are dicks, and he's one of the kids that's being treated poorly.
You also realize how oblivious the father is, saying, "Oh, he came to me because I'm the one that the softy." No, that's not at all what's going on. You really have a warped sense of what's going on.
Yeah. But then it starts planning more things of like with Jamie's friends. I felt like, he has his two friends. I'm like, oh, what do they know? What do they do? Were they part of it? So you start to try to figure things out with the cops in this episode. The friend, the girl who got killed, her friend,
her best friend. Yeah, she's like,
she
what
gets
am I
really
going to
pissed.
do now?
Yeah, but because at the time when you fight, she's questioned by the cops, and then she like has an outburst and she gets angry, and you're like, why is she being a little asshole? Then you realize like, oh,
lost her best friend.
It's not only that, but it's also the cops weren't reading the things on how it was meant to be read. You know what I mean? Like they read it as how they understand it, but the cops read it as like, oh, they're friends. And she's like, what? Like, no, like, and again, it's different lingo, different terminology and stuff like that. So like she was angry. She's like, you're cops. Aren't you supposed to know this kind of shit? Aren't you supposed to know what a red pill means and this and that and stuff like that? So, and they kept going on with it.
More that her only friend was this little girl. This other girl, the one
The other girl. Yeah.
She's now alone in this world with no one else to know who, how she understand her. So that's a different thing, and that's why she's being an asshole. And there's cause and effect a lot. I think this was a very big cause and effect episode.
Even
it's just understanding.
Yeah, I was wondering what she was involved with too, because I know the counselor was like, "Oh, you should go talk to her mom." And she's like, "No." He goes, "Oh, she will want to talk to you. You're her best friend." She goes, "No, she doesn't." So I was like, "Oh, what was going on there?" And we never. That was one of my downsides. Is like we never got that part. I was like, I kind of want to know more about the girl and stuff like that. Like, why wouldn't her best friend want to go talk to her mom?
It seemed
You
like it
know?
was a racial divide. It
Yeah,
seemed like it
yeah,
seems that way very much, and we know England has that sometimes, and and that's or even religion. You don't know if that was it too. So because of that, like you felt though that divide and that parents once again the disconnect between the parents and the children. The kids could be best friends, but the parents are not going to see it that way.
Yeah.
And once again, was not paying attention in between these two these groups of people. Yeah.
And even like I thought a good part of this episode was towards the end where the lead cop, what was it, Bascom?
Luke, yeah.
Where where he was like, he goes, there's not much teaching going on here. Teachers are off, in the bathroom doing nothing or coming in late to school. It seems like you're managing people instead of teaching kids. That's what it kind of seemed like. So, and I don't know how
you weren't holding them accountable. You weren't teaching any accountability at all.
Yeah. They were like the scene in the lunchroom where like one of the bullies bullied somebody. I forgot who they did, but they bullied somebody right in front of the teacher, and the teacher was like, "Hey, knock that off." I was like, "What?" Like detention, demerit, something, some kind of punishment. You just witnessed this, and you're just like, "Don't do it."
Okay.
Yeah, it was like, yeah. Any last things, Brandman? I know me and Brian took over this one because, like,
having real deep.
Yeah, this episode really did.
Yeah.
So
it made me hate kids.
Yeah. Brian has 2 girls in school. So I'm sure you had feelings, and then me is like, oh, I'm not ready for this.
It was the idea that you lose touch, and that it's not just the kids' fault, it's the parents' fault. So the kids are little shits, they just really are. But the parents aren't the best parents of all time either. So like, and you realizing how you have your own personal responsibility to really reach out, especially as relationships turn. It's your responsibility. You're dealing with going from someone who's a child that's really just under your thumb to someone who's going to have their own life, their own ideas and all that stuff. And if you don't see it that way, you're going to lose touch with them. And if you lose touch with them, they're living their life alone, and they're going to make these stupid decisions.
Yeah. So especially like at 13 is when you start to, you start to disconnect from your parents and start to get your
peer group, the one who
your peer groups. Their opinion matters more, than what the parents think. And me being, going nursing school, the first thing I thought was like the Erickson's stages of development, and this was like, oh, yep, right there. That's it, where the disconnect starts, around 12 to 16 is like the big disconnect.
But then the idea of social media and how that plays into it
plays such a big role.
And now you realize what bullying can do. And then when it's male, female, male bullying, and the idea of using the word incel. And we use it so willy-nilly, not realizing that kids listen to it, hear that, and they literally think it's forever.
Yeah. One thing I would bring up before we move on was I did like they brought up Andrew Tate, and they brought him like, oh yeah, that dickhead, shitty person. I was like, cool, So at least like adults who might not have never even heard of like it would like at least hear it for the first time and kind of reference it like, oh yeah, he's a shitty person. It's like, cool, So at least there's like that, because especially right now, Andrew Tate's getting back in the news, and that's not a good thing. So yeah. All right, so that's enough for episode 2. Episode 3, this was this episode should win a freaking Emmy. This episode was amazing. So it was basically Jamie and one of the therapist counselors, psychologists. It was pretty much them two in a room together for an hour. Holy crap. So good.
Talk about
So,
uncomfortable. You know,
yeah.
if
Okay.
this kid wasn't already on the map, this is going to put him there.
Yeah.
This episode in particular.
No,
Yeah.
100%.
He
Yeah.
was really manning the ship on this episode.
He was scary, and his feelings, and it was very. I don't want to just say like he had a warped sense of what it was to be a man.
Mhm.
Like you start to realize that some of this is the way he was raised, but his perception of the way he is raised. It's not just the way you're raised, but your perception of what someone's saying. And sometimes it's not even about what you're saying; it's about what they're seeing.
Mhm.
And this episode gets to a lot of that. And there's some times where Owen Cooper is scary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's almost scary to a point, and he knows it. And he goes back and forth. And I thought he was schizophrenic.
Mhm.
I literally feel like I saw
Same.
different personalities within that. And the fact that what her name was Brianni Ariston, whatever, Dr. Ariston, didn't say anything about that because it seemed like he was schizophrenic. And she's like, oh no, he's healthy. I thought I saw multiple personalities coming out of it.
I don't know about multiple personalities, but definitely like the schizophrenic for sure. You know. Yeah, yeah. But also, I like it. Because she said that to like, oh, he's healthy. I wonder because she said that to the security guard, right? So I was like, it might be like, yeah. I'm not going to tell you anything important, like out of any, if there's like any extra stuff, I kind of want to see her reports. Like if they ever do something like that, I want to see her reports of what she writes about this kid because I'm kind of curious of what she would write down for a judge to see, because like I can't see her saying like, oh yeah, he's safe to be in public.
Any environment, yeah, public
Yeah.
environment, being in jail. Oh my goodness. And then but she helped him open up. She, as much as I think she has some other parts of our problem, the character Jamie realized, a lot while talking to her
Mhm.
that he couldn't deny anymore.
Yeah. What about you, Brad man? Any parts of the episode that really like stood out?
Really, and we're still on the third episode.
The third episode.
Yeah, the just the scenes with Jamie and his outbursts.
Mm.
You know, I think that's I really feel like that's the only answer.
Yeah.
Just him losing his shit.
Yeah. But I don't know how you felt, but like seeing, like kind of what Brian said, seeing like how he perceives being a man is,
Mhm.
and definitely how he sees it from at home, but also like social media, and his peers, because his thought process about the girl was interesting, and also very um it said a lot about himself,
Mhm.
why he went after her, not after her, but why he went to go ask her out initially, was pretty fucked up. Like that shouldn't be a good reason to ask somebody out on a date. Is like, oh, you're in a shitty place, and
You might be low enough to like me.
yeah, which says a lot about him.
How low his self-esteem was, and then his parents didn't even see how low his self-esteem is at all. And then how much bullying he was getting taken that's happening at school, and how bullying affects a kid.
Yeah.
Their self-esteem, their self-worth, the anger without an outlet.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing, like he didn't play sports. He wasn't very social. He wasn't. He was. But he was good in school. He got A's. So the things on surface level that
Mhm.
parents, I guess, look at like was good. Wasn't getting in trouble. Had A or not A's, but was doing well in school, and had some friends where you talk to, but you know, without digging deeper, you missed out on who your kid really is.
Mm-hmm.
So so yeah. But this third episode was intense, Intense. That doctor was. She was interesting because
Freaked out.
she just let him go sometimes.
Mhm.
Like she'll ask the question and then
Yep.
he'll just snowball it, bigger, to like he at one point he made himself angry. Like it's just yeah. But yeah. Oh man. Anything else before move on to the last episode? It's episode 3.
Nothing but you just Emmys. Things need to happen for episode 3.
100%. Netflix was smart. They'll push some Emmys or something for just for this episode. So, and then the final episode, episode 4, is the family. It's the dad, the mom, and the sister, and it just takes place on I believe on his birthday, on the dad's birthday.
On his birthday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's that was one issue I had overall. The time frame with everything doesn't really. I don't remember how long it was after he got arrested that episode 4 took place.
It still was very short. All this time was still very short, like within the first week still.
Okay. I thought it would be a little more like months. Like less than a year for sure. That's what I assumed, but I thought it'd be like more months in between.
No, because his plea, like the whole thing was over a year, wasn't it?
Delta Dancing 13 months.
His whole
because he was there for a little while at that at the Institute for Kids, like the mental institute for kids. He was there for a little while. So,
and then they've been through stuff, but they haven't hit the trial yet. And then he was going to change his plea.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Did that the whole him calling thinking he was just talking to his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And to relate. Oh man. Yeah. It just hit me. It was like the son and the father relationship. Was just so interesting in this episode or in this show, but especially in this episode. Like,
yeah, but it doesn't seem like he had much relationship with his father.
It was all surface level. It was all like what you said. It's what you perceive. It's what you see. Like they didn't really talk about issues. They just hung out together, kind of thing.
Yeah, if that, like it was like he and his father. He chose his father because his mother was too emotional. It was more of a connection. He couldn't say the same things. His father was so disconnected enough in his job and all that stuff that he could tell him something and he would protect him without really knowing him.
Yeah.
It's crazy to say your father doesn't know you, but this father did not know.
No, I agree. What are you, Brad, man? What you think about episode 4?
I thought it was kind of pretty interesting to see how the family was trying to move on in light of what happened. I think that was the main thing that kind of stuck out in my mind throughout this episode. They were just, especially the father, Eddie, he was just managing. They were trying to do their best. And it really, just in light of all the crap that was going on, having his work truck spray painted, being taunted by kids,
another kid
in the neighborhood. Was happy when he got his lick back on that kid, though, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just just shows how you keep showcases how you got to keep moving forward despite whatever happens to be going on, and just how it's easier said than done.
It's almost impossible when you're talking about your kids and how it reflects on who you are as a person. And then does your marriage hold up, through this trauma that's going to happen? Can you really look at that person? Can she look at you and not see her son who's now in jail. Like, it's so much.
I would say, does the family hold up? Because it's also the marriage, but it's also the sister. The sister could easily be like, "I'm out, man. It's 18. Like, I don't want to be part of this." He killed somebody that's not my brother anymore. That's not the person I remember.
But instead, she chose to stay, hold it to the family together, and that moment when the father,
what she say? She said, "He's ours," which
ours.
just even right now, that's gonna break my heart. Holy shit, man! And they come from the sister, the older sister, the sibling. So yeah.
And then when the mom and dad look at each other, and he says, "How did we get one like that and one like him?"
Yeah.
And raised the same exact way. And so we got her just the same way we got him, the way we raised him. And I think that was the thing that really stuck with me. I was like, wow, this is bad. Two different kids gonna take the way you raise someone totally different. If you're not raising them the way that they need to be raised, they're telling you the way they need to be raised. You're ruining them because when you think that they're gonna act the way you want them to act, and they're not. They're human beings. They're gonna act the way they need to act, and you have to listen to that part. And as a parent, we don't always do that.
Yeah, it's a lot of times you're like one size fits all. Like, oh well,
or you treat like
this, so therefore,
I was treated this way. You're getting treated better than I got treated, right? And that's the answer.
Yeah,
like remember, his father beat him. The father, like Eddie, whatever.
Yeah,
his father beat him. I'll never do that to my kids. But then you were distant, and that's just as bad. Like, and you're treating him like I would be good if I was that way, right?
Yeah.
And then it still turned out this way. It's just, boy, this really is tough to talk about, and it's tough to acknowledge.
Yeah, this episode was really rough to see the family, and to see like the dad. I think he was the focal point of this episode for sure. The mom and sister were there too, but it was definitely him, and going to the grocery to the like Menards or Home Depot, and
repair store,
still getting bombarded with it, with this like other kid who is very much like that red pill kind of Andrew Tate fan. Was like, oh, I'm with your son. He didn't do it. Like, she deserved it, or all that shit. And and for Eddie to be like, I think of an older generation, where they compartmentalize and just like kind of keep pushing forward, and you hear everything's drowned out around him, and he's trying to deal with it, and he hits a breaking point, and it's like, damn, man, it was rough. It was definitely rough to see,
to witness,
to watch him kind of go throughout his birthday as like not too bad, and it gets worse, and it gets just to the point where he breaks down, just crying. And the episode in the show just ends with him crying and apologizing to his son. Man,
yep,
it was rough.
Yeah, that was really rough.
Yeah, but I'll give it to who's the actor? Stephen Graham. He was really good in the show overall too. Like, you want to talk about like Emmys, like, he should win an Emmy for something, whatever, mini series, best supporting actor or whatever, yeah, because him having the breakdown, having the breakdown, having the realization, asking his wife of like, it's not our fault. And the mom is like, it kind of is, he's our kid, like one way or another, it's our fault because, we didn't do anything, or we did too much, or this or that, or we whatever they want to do, so it just
we raised them no matter what. At the end of the
day, So
what kid is out that late?
Yeah, seriously,
it was like 9 o'clock. No, it was later than that. No,
it was late, like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. It was pretty late.
You're how old? Dude. Man, I tell you, the black for me, the black rule of the street lights worked for me until I was like 15, 16 years old. Like, you had to be out by like it's getting dark. You better be home. I better know exactly where you are. He didn't even know he was out or where he was or anything about it to that effect. I thought that was just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it might be. I mean, isn't that like? It's like we're part of this generation where like, oh, they're always on their tablet, go outside, but then they go outside and
At
I don't know.
9:45 at night.
I mean, that's way too late, even on a weekend. That's way too late
10
for
o'clock at night.
13-year-old. Yeah, no. So it's always an extreme, right? It's always like, because remember back in the day before we were probably alive, but probably for like our parents, the fucking TV had to remind them, do you know where your kids are at? Like, like that had to play on TV to remind the people, our grandparents or great grandparents to remind them, hey, is your kid home? Like, because they were always out, and then it turned into like always in front of a screen and never going out, so from what I understand, like the new, generation alpha is starting to like wanting to be back outside again. So does it get extreme the other way where like, oh yeah, be outside, don't be on the tablet, don't be on the computer all day, but
I
it's a
think
balance again,
I think it's the parents also being consumed by social media and all that stuff and not having that one-on-one interaction. We also don't have that same ability to speak to each other and wanting to be with each other and paying attention and being a parent. What it's time consuming. It means being aware of what's going on. It's easier to be self-indulgent. It's easier to use social media for your own aspect instead of being a parent.
Yeah. So even like I know it's a little, but like today I was reading an article about illiteracy in kids going into college level right now and how low and like just how bad it is. And it's everyone's like, oh, it's teaching and blah, blah. And in the article was like, it's also the parents, are part of social media now. So when kids go home or when they're growing up, it's like you should read and you should have your kids see you read, and that,
have
like
that
the
type of
monkey see monkey do
lifestyle.
kind of thing,
Creating that
so,
lifestyle.
yeah. So kind of like you said, like it's not only the kids that are getting sucked into, social media, it's also the adults, and it's very much real world. Our election was, mainly on social media, this last one. So yeah, and obviously that's anybody under 18 doesn't mean anything for us. So that's obviously all the adults. So yeah. It's just yeah. Anything else with this episode? Because I was going to talk about the whole show, but before we get into that, any last thoughts for this episode?
Just say this is one of those. There was an episode that was really hard to deal with, and it broke down families. It broke down lines. It broke down, and then villainizing someone who did something wrong and realizing that you are part of the issue too, no matter who you are. So yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our overall thoughts. So overall thoughts for the show plus the ratings. We'll do it now, later, never. Now means watch now. Later means just whenever you get a chance to. No big rush, and never means just skip it. Brandman, what are you rating it, and what's your overall thought of the whole season?
I firmly file this under well-made and effective content that I will never watch again. And I was kind of questioning if I would say now or later, but I still can't deny that it was very well put together and just amazingly acted. So that said, I will give it a now. Just know what you're getting yourself into. But yeah, it's one of those that I can't deny its quality, but I can comfortably say I will never watch it again. But yeah,
I don't blame you.
yeah, from an acting standpoint and just the tone and mood of it is very, very solid.
Mhm.
Just get ready. If you're gonna watch it,
Yeah.
just be ready.
Yeah. Okay. What are you, Brian?
I've been struggling with this right now. Is it going to be a now or a later? Because it's a quality show, great writing, a story that really needs to be spoken about. But it also doesn't allow you to put your head in the sand and just pretend like everything's going to be all right. Once you have that, you can't unring the bell. I think that's something that I realize now. This is an excellent, well done movie. I don't need to watch it again. You know, so many details I could really try to find out about and manipulate it and write down the stuff. I don't want to know again. I don't want to have to deal with it. It just worked on so many different levels, and I was so worried by the end. And it helps you. It makes you look in the mirror about yourself, and that's not always the best feeling, but it's always humbling. And this is a humbling movie, and I'm gonna give it a now. Give it a now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. For me, this is for sure now. Like everything about it was so well done. I will say, there's some people that should never watch it, and it's not because it's a bad show. It's because it'll be hard for certain people to handle it emotionally. You know, not saying it's, you know, that they're like on that. It's just, you know, like, for example, like my girlfriend, I watched this, and by the last episode, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And I'm like, I can never let my girlfriend watch this movie, the show. Like, because I don't know if she can handle it. It is a lot, you know, and being a newer parent, it, seeing you know 13-year-olds, you know, doing, you know, all this like crazy stuff, you know, and you know, much like Brandman said, like, you know, all these kids being dicks, you know, where you're just like, oh geez, you know. So yeah, so it's now. So if you watch the first episode, you kind of sucked right in, and you're gonna watch all 4 episodes. And there's everything's so well done about it. You know, the camera angles. I thought all the acting was really solid. Like you felt like this was like a documentary almost. You know, so everything about it was so well done. There are certain people, I would say, don't watch it because it is a lot to handle.
If you're highly emotional and you internalize some of the
Yeah.
concepts in the movie, this might not be the one for you.
That is it for our discussion for Adolescence. A little bit longer one, but we went through each episode. I think it deserved its time to talk about because it is a heavy subject. But we appreciate everyone hanging out with us. If you're watching on the replay, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Come and join us every Monday and Thursday when we talk about different movies and TV shows and different nerdy stuff. But we appreciate all you guys coming in, hanging out with us. And if you are in the live chat right now, stick around because we're going to get into your comments.